So, good morning. My name is Barry Shaw, and I am supposed to be here. Not drafted in at late notice, so good to see so many people here. Out of interest, how many of you have applied to any Technology Strategy Board competition before? How many of you applied to the Biomedical Catalyst before? Okay, so about 50-50 have applied before, and 1 in 10 to the Biomedical Catalyst. So it's nice to see so many new people coming. It's really good that you're here. That's what we're hoping we're going to do. I can see Elaine's got a big smile over to my right. It's exactly what she was hoping for, the result of a lot of new people coming to hear us today. So, enough messing around. Let's get on with what I'm here to do. What I'm going to do first of all is give you an introduction to the Technology Strategy Board. I'll then pass over so Elaine can come up and go through the scope of the competition. When Elaine's finished the scope, there is a time then allotted for Q&As. If you do have any questions, if you could raise your hand and wait until the microphone comes around, please, so that our online audience can then hear the questions, we would be grateful, and we'll get all the answers out together. After Elaine has finished, you get me back again, aren't you lucky? So that we'll go through the different sorts of application forms. And by the different sorts, I mean we'll start off looking at a feasibility study application form. We'll then go on to the expression of interest form for the early and late stage, and then we'll look at the full stage application form as well, because they are all different. It's just a little bit of information to see the differences when you go through the application process. We'll have a break, because I'm sure by then you'll have had enough of sitting down listening. No matter how many jokes I can tell as we're going along, there's only so much you can listen to as we're going forward. So we'll have a 20-minute break, and then you'll get a different voice, a different accent, someone else to listen to. John will come up and go through all the funding information, tell you what you can take through it forward, go through project costs, how to submit applications, the way forward, so a little bit about the after process. And then John and I'll stand up here and answer any questions that we can for you. If you have any questions in the coffee break, feel free to come and ask John or myself or Elaine, and then when we finish, you get a nice lunch and a networking session before the interesting section this afternoon, hearing from the successful applicants and some roundtable discussions. So, by the end of my section, we're hoping that you've got the knowledge and the confidence and the ability, therefore, to go forward and apply to the competition. So by that, we hope you understand the scope, and as Elaine says, it is a wide scope. The objectives of the competition, understand the processes that you have to go forward with, the application requirements, and if you can then be clear on the timelines and deadlines for round 7 that's open at the moment. Technology Strategy Board. We are sponsored by the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills. We do operate at arm's length from government, and in a nutshell, what you see on the screen is what we do. We're here to accelerate economic growth by stimulating and supporting business-led innovation. So, how do we think that innovation is supporting economic growth? In the world, not just in the UK at the moment, we've got problems. We've got ageing populations, hence we need medical assistance with different diseases, with assisting people living, so assisted living programs. There's also other problems, transport congestion, resources, we need to recycle more, and it's businesses like yourselves who've come today who are at the forefront of trying to solve these problems and innovate to do so. We are a business-focused organisation, and in everything we do, we ask, as it says on the screen, how can we help UK business bring ideas to market more quickly? We try to stimulate innovation by bringing people together, trying to help in collaboration, people sharing ideas. But in the Biomedical Catalyst competition, you don't have to collaborate with people. You can enter as a single company. We try to break down the barriers to innovation. And we're trying to help business understand the future markets and the innovation opportunities and the business opportunities that are coming forward. And we offer funding through competitions such as Biomedical Catalyst. We're trying to de-risk development of products and new services. We understand that at this point in the market it's very difficult to get funding from venture capitalists and banks, and we're here to help you with that risk. So, in the last 7 years, we've enabled about £3 billion worth of investment in innovation. That's with partners, so maybe research councils like the Medical Research Council, but also business contributions. We're working with approximately 5,000 businesses at the moment of all sizes. Also work with over 150 research and technology organisations, and that would include nearly all the UK's universities. The Underscore Connect network that I'm sure you're all familiar with, and if you haven't registered, it's a really good platform to network, to find collaborative partners and to share ideas. Typically at the moment there's somewhere around 66,000 members on that platform. And typically we run about 90 competitions across our priority themes. We say typically, we opened 40 competitions in the first quarter of this year, so I would expect that we'll probably run a few more than 90 this year. And that's across everything. So that could be the collaborative research and development calls, feasibility studies. There's also smart awards for SMEs. If you look on our website, you can get single applications and go in for proof of market, proof of concept awards. We also run SBRI competitions with other departmental organisations. So the Department of Health, for instance, we've run SBRIs. And they're business-led challenges. It's a 100% funded contract, and there's a government need for something, so they're trying to get a contract and run a competition together. There's currently an entrepreneurial mission out in California, I believe, or out in the States. So we run missions every so often to take innovative companies out to different parts of the world to try and help with further investment and to export technologies. Much of our work, as I said, is focused on a number of market opportunities, whether that's energy, whether it's healthcare, high-value manufacturing. All this information is currently in our brand new delivery plan, which should be released over the next few weeks. And it'll give you all the information on forthcoming competitions and the amount of money we're looking to spend in the priority areas for the next financial year. This slide is repeated throughout. If at any time when you're entering a competition, if you need a bit more help, if you've got a question, the easiest thing to do is call the competition helpline, the 0300 number. If they can't help you, they'll ask you to send in an email, which gives you a tracking number, so you know that you've always got a number to chase up. Emails will either go to a process person like myself, who looks after the competition processes, or if it's a scope query, go to Elaine for an answer. And you get that in writing, which in my opinion is always better than hearing something over the phone or face-to-face. To get it in writing, if it's written down, it's one of the authors I read a lot, says if it's not written down, it's never happened. But if you've got something in front of you, written down, you've got the guidance there. Now, the important bit, the scope. Over to Elaine.
Thank you very much, Barry. Thank you, and good morning. So I'm really pleased to have so many people coming in today to hear about Biomedical Catalyst. So I'm lead technologist, as Barry said, for medicines and healthcare. Now, I'm going to recap a little bit on some of the things that Barry said, because so we as the UK's innovation agency, our goal is breaking down barriers to innovation. And one of the ways of doing that is having meetings like this where people can come together and network and meet each other and share ideas. And that's as well as the collaborative funding that we run. And one of the things, so for understanding future markets and innovation opportunities is through our catapults, and you may be aware of some of those. And clearly offering funding, that's what we're here today to talk to you about, is a particular competition which I will go into in detail. But firstly, just to say, I'm part of the wider healthcare team at the Technology Strategy Board. And we have 4 priority areas. The first of these is the Assisted Living Innovation Platform. And they run competitions to help businesses to deliver product systems and services to help people live independently for longer, how they want and where they want. Biomedical Catalyst, I will talk about in more detail in a moment. The regenerative medicine team support development of tools, technologies and therapeutics, and also business models, and they also work closely with the cell therapy catapult. And then finally, the Stratified Medicine Innovation Platform. Now that's about ensuring use of the right treatment for the right patient at the right time. And they're working on plans for a precision medicine catapult at present. The Biomedical Catalyst was announced back in December 2011, so some time back. And it was announced as a joint initiative between the Medical Research Council and the Technology Strategy Board, with 180 million funding for the first 3 years. Because it had been recognised that despite the UK's world-class science base, that there was innovation had been disappearing into the so-called valley of death because of the lack of funding for early-stage, high-risk research. So the Biomedical Catalyst supports the rapid translation of excellent science into marketable innovation in healthcare, and also aims to drive UK economic growth. The scope is really very broad. It's, as it says here, it's for innovative ideas addressing a healthcare challenge, and it can be any sector and any discipline, providing this potential for UK economic impact. It's not marketing projects and not blue sky research, but I've done a list of some examples. So, you know, besides, obviously we do the biotech and drugs, biologics, vaccines and gene therapy, but outside of that area, just some examples. Recently a company, Polyphotonics, had an award for developing, it was a blanket with LEDs embedded to give light therapy, so for newborn babies that could be with jaundice to be wrapped in a blanket with LEDs. Another one was a company called Food Dudes Health, and that's an e-health platform where it was for kids playing and physical activity, where it measured the physical activity, gives them feedback to increase physical activity in the playground. Another Oxonics is a company developing, it's a prototype for, it's an ultrasound device, but it's been delivering improved delivery of drugs into tumours. Another one recently was a company, Calcivis, and they combining a light active protein with a camera so they can detect inside the mouth active caries to try and make sure that dentist only gets his drill out when he really needs to. And then what's a completely different, Exploristics, a company who were developing a statistical package to help with the design of clinical trials where biomarkers are involved. So you can see all of those is really quite a broad range of different types of projects that all fit within the scope. So just a last point on the eligibility. It needs to be small businesses, or SMEs, not large businesses. And as Barry said, they can be either individual or collaborative applications. And collaboration can be with an academic partner or with another business. And the scheme has 3 strands to it. The feasibility, which is for up to 12 months with a maximum grant of 150,000, and that is eligible for 75% of funding. And then there's the early stage and the late stage, which are both 1 to 3 years with a maximum grant of 2.4 million, and for eligible costs, that's 60% intervention rate possible. Now these grants are per partner, so if it's a combined project with an early or late stage, you can see these can be quite significant grants. Not every round includes all 3 strands, so the current round 7 is late stage, and then the following one will be for early and feasibility. Now so there's you can get a handout which covers this in more detail. We might, can provide a PDF, and you can find it all on the website. But the feasibility strand, the scope it's to explore an early scientific idea where you can do experimental studies to validate early stage concepts, where you have, for example, existing preclinical studies. And it could be for exploring the IP position or looking at the business potential for an idea. Then the early stage award is to establish proof of concept in a model. So this can be in vitro or in vivo, or it could be early stage prototyping, but it's not for work in humans. Whereas the late stage is to take a well-developed concept and demonstrate effectiveness in a relevant environment. So that could be first in human studies, it could be demonstration of production mechanisms, or it could be later stage prototyping and market testing. So those are the three strands. But I said I think we can have PDFs made available of these, and there are leaflets. So when the applications come in, what are we looking for? Firstly, the evidence of the technical and scientific innovation. What makes this an innovative project? You'll need to show that you understand your freedom to operate. You need to have a good understanding of the competitive landscape, and not just present, but in the future, what will you be competing with? And can you be sure that you're not going to be infringing somebody else's IP? And as well as addressing unmet health needs, you need to be looking at what's the market demand. This is your strong commercial proposition, because we want your business to make money, so you need to be sure, and especially if it's a disruptive technology, you might need to be looking at health adoption pathways if what you're proposing just doesn't fit in the way things are done today. So strong commercial proposition. And that leads to your exploitation plan. So are you thinking of setting up your own sales team, or are you looking to find a partner, or are you going to be expected to licensing out, or even selling your company? So you have to say how you think you're going to get this product to market, and with a realistic plan for that. We'll be looking at the team that you have. You need to make sure that you have the knowledge of the sector and the skills. So, for example, you might need to have a particular specialist clinician in the team, or as an advisor, or particular your commercial expertise or technical skills. But we will look at that mix, and it might be that you subcontract to cover any gaps within your in-house team. And then underpinning all of that, you need to make sure that you have a clear project structure with realistic costings and timings. So, and then the last question is, what's in it for the UK? We need to know that we're helping to drive economic growth by us being involved in your project. If it's a really good project, why aren't you doing it anyway? Why do you need to come to us to get public funding? So that needs to be made clear. We want to know that our involvement is actually going to help bring your idea to market more quickly than you would achieve without our involvement. So, finishing then, just a summary of where we are to date with the Biomedical Catalyst scheme. The first 4 rounds, we've had 563 proposals so far that have come in. Out of those, those 4 rounds, that was 96.8 million worth of awards given out from, this is the business-led projects. Round 5, so far we've given out 23 feasibility awards to, that's 3.2 million, bringing the overall to a roundish 100 million. We're still looking at the early and late stage awards for that round. Round 6, we had 84 applications come in. That was early and late stage, and that's going through the process. And as you know, so we're here today because round 7 is open. These are the dates, and I'm sure Barry will be going over them again shortly. But the registration is by 23rd of September, closes at noon, and a week later your applications need to be in 1st of October by noon. I think Barry will go over the dates again, won't you? So, this is where you'll find the information. Do register on _connect, because also you'll get alerts for any other competitions coming up which might be relevant to you. Okay, thank you. So, back to...
So, has anyone got any questions for Elaine at the moment, or everyone? Okay. Yep. We'll just wait for.
Hello, Michael Phillips from Renfrew Group. Just a quick question on the point you're making about the use of the early stage for assessing the business potential.
Feasibility.
Yeah, well, I think you used the words business.
In the feasibility, you can look at the business processes that you can. The feasibility is really when it's a very early stage idea. You have some data, say for example, you might have some preclinical data, but you're trying to understand what is the business potential of that. So it can include, say for example, it could be some market research within that. It wouldn't be just that as the only activity, but that could be included within.
There could be some market research. That's yes. You talked about what you can and can't include, and wasn't really clear whether you could include market research or not. But you're saying you can.
If you're looking at trying to understand the potential for this new concept you're developing, then it can be included. But you do need to have some underpinning science before you do that.
Sure. Thank you.
Elaine, I was under the impression that Biomedical Catalyst would fund 50% of any project. Now, you just said on this presentation that the grants are per partner. So if you've got £1 million project, will TSB fund more than 500,000 of it?
We'll come to that shortly, but those rules changed in September 2012. The percentage, so any competition that opened after were now funded by participant type and the activity they're doing within the project.
I need to talk to you about that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll look at the application process. We're always asked what we see as an ideal project, and we can't actually verbalise it, because the ideal project is one that has a collaborative solution in most cases, but in Biomedical Catalyst you can apply as a single company, and one that addresses a technical challenge. And the ideal project also demonstrates a clear business opportunity, but needs support from the Technology Strategy Board to get going. The key driver is one that's going to increase research and development within the UK. We're not looking to replace your existing R&D budgets, we're looking to enhance them. So, the slide represents the usual types of project. All the way on the far side, you've got the blue sky thinking, which is your research council. Feasibility studies, you're taking things from that blue sky thinking, developing a little bit further. So that's your feasibility study, it's pre-industrial research. Then we're looking at the late and early stage projects, which are the industrial research, taking it further forward, not quite at market readiness level, but not far off, just getting to where you could have commercial investment, venture capitalists coming in. So in that middle section is where the Technology Strategy Board sits, and I suppose that's really where we're really trying to help you guys bridge that gap. In order to enter competitions, you obviously need to register on our websites. You'll see a competition page, it's funding competitions, and on that section you'll have all the currently open competitions. So, first of all, I know we're not open this round for feasibility studies, but because we're here talking about the competition, we thought it was appropriate to go through all the information, so let you know how to apply and what's coming up. So, type of competition. It is a single stage competition, which means you submit an application form, it goes through an assessment and a moderation panel, and then you're notified if you've been successful or not. Funding here is up to 75% for SMEs, and the project length is between 3 and 12 months, and it's an application form we'll go through now. So what we ask for, first of all, on the application form is a summary of the project and its innovation. This isn't marked, but it's giving the assessors who are looking at your application, you're setting the scene, you're giving them a flavour of what's going on. It doesn't affect how you score, but it's just an idea to give us a good description of what your project entails. You have the gateway question, the scope. We've got a wide scope here, so it's not as difficult as some competitions that are more specific. So if you're looking at the Region Med or the Stratified Med competitions that are out there at the moment, their scope is narrow. With Biomedical Catalyst, it's a wider scope, as Elaine said. But you've still got to write your application, and so it's the clear majority of your project's aims and objectives fit within the scope. If the majority of assessors and the lead technologists believe your project is out of scope, then no matter how well it scores on all the questions, no matter how good the idea is, we couldn't fund it under that competition. What we also ask on Biomedical Catalyst is for two things. We ask if you've had public funding, so we can have a look at your previous track record in delivering and exploiting public funding for competitions. And we also have a look to see if you've got academic collaborators. Just helps us up front have a look at who's within a project. If you've got academic collaborators, so we can get the right assessors on there, we can liaise with the Medical Research Council to make sure that we've got all the best information and the best people to look at your projects. The Feasibility Award application form is built as it says there, so if we go straight into the details. First thing on feasibility studies, I'd say it's more light touch because it is 6 questions and you're straight into the nitty-gritty. It is weighted differently. We've got 30 points here straight away for the idea. So we're asking you to state the opportunity you need to address. Tell us about the potential health impact of the solution that's being developed. Discuss your competitor landscape. Tell us about IP. Always within the medical fraternity, we like to see details of IP and freedom to operate. Describe the size of the market that's opening up and your development opportunities within there. And also state if your proposed solution, if it's a platform technology, how it's going to have a wider impact against sectors or more across different applications. Within the work plan, give us your technical approaches, give us your milestones. Describe the roles of individuals or key organisations within your project. Tell us if your work packages are interdependent. Give us the main risks, tell us about the impact and your mitigation strategy. Crikey, that was awful, wasn't it? Mitigation strategy. This section, you can use a supporting appendices, and you can submit a Gantt chart to show your work package breakdown. Question 3 is all about you and the people you're involving within your project. So tell us about the key people, the key organisations. Tell us about the internal and external resources that are required. And also tell us about any history you've had about working together on projects, or if you've worked on successful projects separately. Tell us what happened and how they were successful, what you've got from the outputs. Question 4, deliverables. So, what are they? What are the outcomes of your project? What does a successful outcome look like? Where would you like to take the work after this section of the project ends? Are you going straight to a late stage, or do you need to do it at an early stage? Is there another funding stream that you look at? It's a catalyst. We don't expect a feasibility study not to come back to us as for a follow-on. We'd love to see feasibility studies come back, if applicable, for an early stage and then a late stage. Go all the way through. That'd be great. We're here to try and build and bridge that gap. So a project that starts and uses funding successfully to go all the way through the stages, well, isn't that what a catalyst suggests that we're trying to do and develop you, help you all the way through to get your idea to as close to market as possible? That'd be brilliant for us. So tell us what you want to do. Tell us about you. Tell us about the business here. So tell us about your current business and outline your business plans, your financial strategy for the lead applicant. Explain how this project's adding value to your business. And also, if you do have any collaborators within there, how are they deriving value from the project as well? Again, we can include a business plan here just to give us more information and as a supporting appendix. Question 6 is all about the costs and the added value. So, provide a breakdown of costs aligned with tasks. You may have given us a work package breakdown, so give us a cost per work package. Everyone who's heard me speak before or heard me drum on about this point, so before we stand up here, read 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 lines of feedback, and if you've been doing Biomedical Catalyst as long as I have, you have read 30, 40,000 lines of feedback per round. So you get a bit of an idea of what assessors like, and they do like looking at work package breakdowns. And if you can give a cost per work package, brilliant. It gives them an idea of what fair market value is, where your resources are going. Underpowering something, as you're well aware, is as bad as overpowering it. And all these assessors, when I talk about Biomedical Catalyst, we've invited over 800 people to assess on the competition since it started. We've got a core of probably about 180 assessors, depending on the speciality needed and the thematic area, whether it's diagnostics, therapeutics, e-health. We've got people across all areas. So Elaine has to make sure they're all aligned to the right people. So this is what the assessors look for. Tell us why public funding is necessary, as Elaine said, why you can't fund this differently yourself. Feasibility study, 6 questions. If you are doing a feasibility study when the next round opens in October, I think it's October the 2nd, feasibilities and early will open, you need everything straight away. So that's the application form. You need to submit partner finance forms for the lead and any other partners. If you're working with academics, we need JES forms. Appendices, they are optional, but it gives you help to power your application a bit more. They give you a bit more supporting evidence. We also need a copy of the joint electronic submission form in PDF confirming with council status. Used to bigger lecterns where I was poetry. Okay, early and late stage awards. So, with an early and late stage award, it's a 2-stage written application form followed by an interview with a major awards committee. Both application forms are different. The expression of interest, we'd say, is probably more like touch, and we'll come on to that in a second. But as Elaine was saying earlier, it's SME business-led, but it could be single or collaborative. Minimum project size of £250,000 and a maximum grant of £2.4 million for each organisation type or entity within the project. Research partner involvement can be up to 50% of the total eligible project costs of the whole project. SMEs can be funded at up to 60%. So we'll just go through the application form at EOI stage. And you'll notice we always ask for the public summary, the public project summary. So Not going to dwell on that one. The scope, exactly the same. You need to write yourself into scope. The application form still asks you the public funding question and academic collaborators. And that's the same on feasibility, expression of interest and full stage. So that's enough of them. Expression of interest, 6 questions that are marked. The first 3 in section 1 are all scored at 20 points. The next 3 in section 2 are all scored at 10 points. So everyone goes, oh, that's only 90 points. Where's the extra 10 from? The extra 10 comes from the assessor's judgment on how well they believe your idea and your project fits within the alignment and how well it aligns with the Biomedical Catalyst programme. I'll have a look at each question now. Question 1 is the healthcare need. So it's a little bit of a development from your feasibility study. We're asking you to describe the healthcare need that you're going to address. Describe your proposed solution. Detail the potential health impact of the solution being developed. And again, we're talking about if you've got a platform technology, tell us how it can be applied across multiple sectors. Question 2, all about the innovation. So how is your project innovative? Is it commercially innovative, scientifically innovative, technically innovative? Compare it with what's in the marketplace, your gold standard, other competing solutions, and those that you know are under development. Tell us about the competitor landscape, and we always come back to this. Tell us about your IP and freedom to operate in the area. Question 3 is purely about the underpinning science. So tell us about the prior work that's been conducted in the area in relation to this study, or how these outcomes are going to support your proposed work. Question 4 is about your project plan and the team. It may just be your company, but you may have subcontractors or collaborators. In the healthcare market, we understand there is a big need for subcontracting. CROs are costly, we understand that. So where you have applied, some of you, to other technology strategy board competitions before and heard that subcontracting is okay, yeah, 30%, yeah. Don't mean to belittle the other competitions. Healthcare is different. We appreciate that you might be doing a lot, you have the ideas, you might have the project management skills and some of the technology within your organisation, but if you need to use a CRO, you're not going to have all these manufacturing things as well in your facility. So we understand here that subcontracts are bigger than in the typical technology strategy board competition. So tell us about them, just justify why you're using them, let us know who they are. Tell us your technical approach, your milestones. You might use Prince 2, you might use Agile, you might not use any, you might have a detailed history of project management that's successful. Explain how you're going to do everything. Outline your main risks and your mitigation strategy as well. Question 5, we're looking at a top-level breakdown of your costs. Describe how value for money has been decided here. Tell us why the public funding is necessary and why you can't do this with your own funds. And tell us where the match funding for the project will come from. Question 6 is all about potential and exploitation. So what's the commercial potential for your project and how are you going to exploit it? Tell us about the market size that your studies may open up. We appreciate this isn't always the easiest thing to do, but justify how you think you're getting there. We know it's tough thinking about market size, market shares. The justification is just as important as the market size and share that you're putting there. Tell us how you're going to get there. Give us your route to market when your project's completed. Do you need to go then, if you're early stage, do you need to go for a late stage award? Do you need further funding from other funding sources for tests in man and that sort of information? And this is a question that you won't see on the application form, but it's just asking the assessors. Most of them have assessed since the first round, so they know what's going on. We still refresh the pool, and we do hold assessor workshops so that they get more training all the time on what we're looking for. We ask them to give us their view on how well it aligns to the Biomedical Catalyst programme. For your competition at expression of interest stage, you may have detailed your finances within the application form, but we always ask you to put them in the finance summary table. So we ask you to give each organisation's name if they're a partner. If they're a subcontract, you don't list them here. It may just be your own company. We also ask for registration numbers, if you're a micro SME, the postcode, so we get a feel of the geographic area everyone's coming from when they apply, and also then a contribution you're making, the amount of funding you requested, and it all adds through to column 8, which is grayed out, so we can see all the total project costs and funding required and contribution. So, full stage applications. Again, everyone's getting bored of this slide. And the next one. This is the different one. You will see this on the feasibility studies form as well. A state aid rule, a key thing of state aid, is if we're publishing your project, or if you're successful, we need to have a description of the project that we can put in the public domain. The first thing we say is, don't put any technically sensitive information in here. We don't want to disclose your IP, give away any of your secrets. Give us a general overview of what the project is that you'd be happy using yourselves to promote your project if you're successful. If you're through to full stage, then hopefully you should already be in scope. So don't rewrite this. If you've got, when you've read your feedback, if there's a couple of people there who say you're out of scope and a few say you're in, maybe that it's not clear, you may want to relook at it just to make sure everything's fine. But if there's no dissension between your assessors when you get your feedback on your scope, don't rewrite it and take the chance that you write yourself out of scope because it's not as clear anymore and you don't get funded. Again, we ask about public funding, and we ask about academic collaborators. And then we get to the actual application form itself, and there's 10 questions here. So it's an expansion, some of this, on what you've already done in expression of interest, but there are a few more points as well. So again, we're looking at the healthcare need that the project intends to address and what the solution is. Question 2, we're asking all about the innovation. Question 3 now, do you have freedom to operate? It's a section all on its own. So it's a key thing to look at, to explain how you're sure you've got freedom to operate. Have you done competitor searches? Tell us what you've done in the landscape. Let us know. Question 4 is all about the exploitation. Tell us how you intend to exploit the opportunities when you've finished your project, where you're going next. Question 5 is about the project. So we're looking at the scientific evidence here. And again, as it says up there, full stage application, if you're late or early, you get a chance to put appendices in. And for your scientific evidence, you get Appendix A. So do you want to put chemical structures, do you want to put graphs, schematics in to tell us about the scientific evidence and support it? Question 6, we're looking at technical approach and project management. So again, Appendix B is a Gantt chart to support this. Appendix C tells about your trial designs, your protocols, the approach to your project. Tell us all about that. Question 7, we're looking at risks. We're looking at the technical, the commercial risks, environmental risks. Tell us about your risk management strategy. Are there risks because you need to recruit people? Do you see that as a risk? Would you think assessors may see that as a risk? Something to think about there. Question 8 is all about the team. Do you have the right skills and experience and access to facilities? So this could be where you're telling us more about your subcontractors. Could be telling us about your CROs, people helping with trial design, that sort of information. All about not just your collaborative partners who are sharing in the IP, but the people you've got subcontracting and working for you within the business. Question 9, what are the resources required to deliver the project? What are the costs of everything you've got within your project? Tell us about the costs. Again, cost per work package, let us see fair market value. How have you got to those costs? Have you done a tendering process? How have you got to the cost of your projects? Question 10, How does the financial support from the Technology Strategy Board and its funding partners add value? So, does this mean with the money you can all work together? Are you getting there quicker, faster? Are you going to be able to compete and complete your studies before competitors are? What is it that's going to really help? And all relevant information you need to put in the application form, because the assessors don't see your finance forms. Appendices are there to support. They're not there to go question 1, continue, question 2, continue, question 3, continue. We do see some people try that. Unfortunately, then we have to discard those appendices. They're there to support your application. So, as we said, chemical structures, graphs and schematics for question 5, Gantt charts for question 6, and also any information on trial designs, protocols, and your trial and your approaches to support question 6 as well in Appendix C. Finance summary table. We always have to have this for the assessors. They don't see your finance forms. But any figures you get in your finance forms as you're completing need to match what you've put in the finance summary table, please. I can see people nodding their heads in here. Yes, we know. You'd be surprised how many people don't do that. So we have to find different figures in the finance summary table and actually come to us in the application forms. Forms required. Expression of interest, it's a lighter touch. It is just the application form. I say just when you've got 84, 85 of them to allocate out to assessors. As Elaine will tell you, that's enough. When everything else comes then in at the full stage, where you've got probably, we look to take probably about half the number through. So we're probably going to take 40 people through to a full stage. If we look at this, if the quality's there. So when they come in, there'll be a 10-question application form. There will be partner finance forms for the lead and any businesses. There will be JES forms for the academics. There'll be the appendices. There'll be academic finance forms. If you've got any other research technology organisations, there'll be finance forms for those people as well. So there's a lot of things to think about when you're uploading. So we'll publish these slides. We'll make sure that all the guys at the KTN have them so you can all get hold of them, so you can see them again. And these forms required sections we found are the ones that people like the most. It's just a nice hint, a good reminder of what you need to deliver at each stage. Assessors, they're looking for clear, concise information. They're from business and academia. They work in the same space as yourselves. They're from all different sectors within medicines and healthcare. What I'd say is don't assume they understand all the jargon, all the key words. My best tip, write as though it's for me. I have no background in medicine. I'm a process man. I'm not a clever, intelligent doctor. I'm not a technical person. I run processes. I can project manage things, yeah, but that's following a process. Write it as though it's for a layman. Write it as though it's for someone who doesn't have the doctorates, is what I tell you to do. Make it simple. They can only assess what you've put down on that application form. So don't assume they know about other projects you've done unless you've told them within your application. Don't assume that they know something that happened unless you've put it in your application form. They may not know. Final thing we ask all our assessors is, would you recommend the project to progress? And if not, why not? With the assessors, they actually tell you not just if they don't want it to progress, they'll tell you if they do, and they'll give you feedback. They'll tell you what they'd like to see strengthened from expression of interest going forward to full stage. Feasibility studies, it would mean progress to a funding decision. So we take a recommendation from the assessors to a funding panel and say, this is what the assessors have said should be funded. At what point do we go down to? Where does the money run out? Where does the quality line come? For early and late stage projects, it would either mean that you're going to proceed to a full stage or that you're going to proceed for an interview with a major awards committee. Speaking of the Major Awards Committee and the interview process, if you have got through to the full stage and you're successful, you'll get an email from us inviting you to a meeting with the Major Awards Committee. If you have entered into round 6, there will still be a split between therapeutics and because there's a late and early. But if you're future round, it's going to be either late or early going forward. You can bring up to 3 people to the interview. We need to know who they are prior to starting. But the biggest thing you get to see before you get anywhere near the interview, you get to see your feedback from the assessors who've looked at it at full stage. And they will also give you a few hints and tips at where they think you could strengthen the application going forward. Not only that, you get 3 sides of A4. Sounds a lot, but maybe it isn't enough sometimes, but we've got to keep it manageable, to actually submit responses to anything in the feedback that you don't think has been taken the right way. So when you get to the Major Awards Committee, not only will they have read your proposal, your feedback, they'll also have read your response to the feedback. And when you're at the Major Awards Committee, you get 10 minutes to do a presentation. So you don't have to dwell on what's been highlighted in that feedback that may not be strong enough, because you've already given a response to that. You can concentrate on what you want to present in your project. It's a maximum of 10 slides. Well, those 10 slides, I say, don't have to include a Q&A slide and your first slide telling us who's come to present. So there's a little bit of leeway. 12 slides is fine. Any more than that, and I get a bit nasty and say, no, you can't do that. After your after your presentation, there's then 20 minutes of questions and answers. And within the Major Awards Committee, there will either be 2 or 3 people whose speciality lends itself to starting those questions. They'll have discussed your application before you come into the room, and these 2 or 3 people will lead the questioning, and the floor, after your questions have gone through, the floor will be open to the other people in the panel, and there's 20 minutes. These timings are strict and are enforced. I know that because I do it. So you will be told when there's a minute left in your your presentation, and then we will cut you off at the 10 minutes, and we will tell the chair at the 20 minute mark that it's time to close the questions. And that's the Major Awards Committee. Within your notification email, we'll also let you know when we need things back. So we'll give you a time to give us back the response to feedback, usually 4 to 5 days, including a weekend. We'll give you a date that we need your presentations by. And within those presentations, we can't accept videos or embedded links. And we'll also give you the time and the date of your interview. Key dates. So, may see a little bit different. Registration is closed on noon, the 24th of September. If you haven't registered by that date, then the next time a late stage award opens would be sometime in 2015. So even if you're not quite sure at this moment in time that you're going to apply, it may be worth registering, because if suddenly someone comes over to you and says, yes, we can go forward with this, if you haven't registered by that first date and you haven't got an application form, you can't apply. Deadline for expression of interest applications, that's just the application form to remind you, is noon on the 1st of October. Applicants are informed by the close of business on the 24th of October, and the stage 2, which means we'll send you an application form, you should get that then on the 27th of October. Your feedback would come to you by the end of that week if you are progressing to the full stage, so that that feedback can help you frame your application. If you're unsuccessful at going forward to the full stage, then it would be, I guess, somewhere around the 24th of November. So 4 weeks after you received your notification email. Deadline for submission of the full application form. So that's your 10-question application form. All your finances and PDFs is noon, the 26th of November. And your full stage applicant interviews are not until 11th and 12th of February 2015. gives people lots of time to look at everything, gives all the assessors time to go through and make sure everything is right for them. So we've got the competitions detailed there. I'm well aware that I'm flying way ahead of... How long a time are we? Is it? Yes, we do. Anyone got any questions on the application form or the process?
Questions about the appendices, I think, for the, you showed a slide about appendices, said no web references. Just explain that.
In the appendices, that's for the presentations at major awards.
No, it's on the application form. It's just on the slide. You didn't actually mention it as you went through. So do not use web references. That be the one for that, is it?
Oh, this one?
Yes, do not use web references.
Yeah, we can't have hyperlinks in there.
Okay, but you could put in a reference to an article on the web that wasn't hyperlinked.
Yes, you could reference that or economic academic standings. Yeah, no active links. We don't want our assessors to. I'm not saying people would, but there are some people in the past who have had malicious links on things, and you know how easy it is to get viruses through our systems. So that's why we're just asking for no embedded links like that.
Okay, thanks.
I will clarify that slide, thank you, because it isn't as clear as it should be.
My question is about industrial contribution. If they have in-kind contribution, does that count or doesn't?
In-kind contributions can't come from within a collaboration, but if it's from outside your collaboration, then an in-kind contribution can be counted as a contribution to the project and you can claim grant against it. I would check that your understanding of an in-kind contribution is the same as ours, and if you go onto the website, onto our funding rules, people who've applied to us historically will know that our guidance for applicants used to be 80 to 120 pages. We're in the 20th century. It's now only 20 pages, usually of competition specific, and the rest of it is always on our website. So you can go on there, there's a PDF document called Your Project Costs. It sits nicely on your desktop, and it tells you exactly how we qualify what a contribution in kind is.
Hi there. I just wondered if you could give some feedback on how valuable you think patient-public involvement with the projects are to you guys when you're reviewing them, if that's made clearly in the application.
I'd have to pass that to Elaine. As I said, I'm a process. I look at the process.
Could you expand a little on your question?
I think it's question one where you're wanting on to lay a summary of the objectives and what the project's really about, and I'm just curious to know if you are looking for that civic involvement, I guess, in the project that was talked to, in the first presentation today. And obviously, some of us on the non-commercial sector are linked in with various patient-public groups. We find it valuable in directing all sorts of projects, and I'm just wondering, are you looking for that in your applications in any way?
It's not part of the applications at present, but it's up to any individual applicant. If that's an important part of their project and it's relevant, then for sure they should make that clear. But it isn't specified within the scope at present.
That's fine, thanks.
So how many assessors are there per application, and how do you go about picking the winners? Is there a certain threshold that they have to get through in terms of the number of points for an application? Could you expand a little bit more about
Yeah,
that?
there are 5 assessors. There are up to 5 assessors per application. All assigned, including reserves, by lane. So if anyone drops out, hopefully we've got enough. Occasionally, if we have very late dropouts, we'll go with 4. If you look at the guidance for applicants, there it confirms in there that you have to score over 6 on every question. We take the average from each assessor to make an average score, and it depends on 2 things. It depends on the score you've got and the money available. So we have had rounds where we also reserve the right to take forward a portfolio approach, which means we would take a certain number from each e-health, from therapeutics, all the way through. Some rounds you've had to score over 80 to get through the expression of interest stage, never mind later on to be considered for interview. Feasibility is usually, we hope there's a little bit more leeway, so 70s and above, but it all depends on it. I'll get my teeth in now, shall I? It's a competitive process, so it all depends on what everyone else has done. I've seen applications score 78, 79 and not get funded because the money's not there and everyone else has gone up above 80. So if you've scored over 6 on every question, then you've got a chance, but it all depends on what the competitors have done and how people rate your application. I can't say if you're over 70, well done, you're going to get funded, because more and more we're getting the lines being drawn higher and higher and higher because the projects that are coming in are being scored so high.
Just thought I would add slightly to that is also that at each stage through the competition, you can have different assessors with different expertise. And when you get to the major awards committee, where it's very rigorous questioning from experts. So it's not necessary that if you score extremely high, say it's an expression of interest, that will translate to extremely high major awards committee. It's just various stages in the triage for the competition.
Hi. You mentioned in feasibility that you could apply via business or academic-led.
No, it's only business. We're here, you can have an academic in collaboration, but for the Technology Strategy Board side, it's purely business-led. Academics can apply via the Medical Research Council, so they sponsor business-led applications.
And the timelines for the MRC, are they similar to the TSB or are they different?
I'm afraid we don't. The only time we see a lot of the applications from the MRC are at the Major Awards Committee. We don't see the timelines. The major awards would be the same, but I don't know, unfortunately, when theirs are.
The Major Awards Committee is something new to me. That's when we got our Biomedical Catalyst, it wasn't installed. So could you just give us a bit more information on this? It looks superficially just like the I4I, but I'm sure it's not.
Superficial is the last thing I would call it. For feasibility studies, you don't go there. Feasibility studies is pure our process. Because we're looking at testing in man and getting that far down the line, we have clinicians, venture capitalists, and people of, Elaine will probably be able to describe some of them in more detail, but people of high standing who will ask you, go through all about the science, they work day to day in the area, and it's their recommendation. You'll be scored on your presentation and your interview, and on your written application on the project, and if it's their recommendation, we take to the funders panel.
Is the dreaded PPI involved in the Major Awards Committee?
Who?
PPI, Professional Patient Involvement, because the I4I committee that we've attended we got absolutely grilled on professional patient involvement.
And it's not something that I'm aware of. It's not part of
That's
it.
a good thing.
Yeah. You can see the confusion on my face there. No, there are clinicians, there are venture capitalists, as I say, professors, doctors, and
And
But also-
how many people are actually on the committee? Because we were interviewed with 40.
well, no. The fewest there have been are 7. We've split it out.
As I was just going to say is that we now have the 2.
Yeah, we have 2 now. So one does therapeutics, and one does everything else.
Yeah.
So we've split it out so that we can just get 7 to 10 people, because we appreciate there are going to be people who will have conflicts that have to go out of the room, and so yeah, there's 7 to 10 people usually on both sides.
Yeah, so one will be dealing with biologics, drugs, vaccines, and will have the appropriate skills there. The other, the non-therapeutics committee looks at medtech, E&M health, and diagnostics when, for example, it will involve a medtech element to it. But yes, so there, and we. I'm not sure if the current list of assessors is on the website at the moment. We certainly have looked at the previous one, is it?
It won't be on. We'll get it put onto the next FT. Yeah, we'll get it put up on the FT.
So you will be able to look to see who are the members of the 2 major organisations.
I have a question about the scope. Perhaps Gillian can help. One of the scope is about exploration of potential product mechanisms. Can you explain a little bit more on that point?
It will be case specific, really. Again, it goes back to one of the slides that Barry showed, which was the not making assumptions. It has to be clear enough that somebody who has no involvement in your project can understand. So that's really, so it just depends on what your project is.
Okay, well, we'll be here for a while yet. We've got another section to do. Yeah, we've got time to stretch legs, talk to people who are here. If we come back, I think you've all got the agendas with you, so I think it's about 10 to. We're due to restart. So, network time, have a chat with people, go and have a chat with Elaine or myself or anyone here. And we'll come back and talk about funding or more information after the break. Thank you.
Thanks very much.